Hmm. Two-tier care has always been the conversation and point that Farage has been throwing around, and all of the pundits on the Daily Mail and the Telegraph. But let's talk about two-tier appreciation. So we have an interesting little situation where it's been claimed or proven that Farage got £5 million for security, and then also further £5 million for reform, and another £2 million. So a number of about £17 million from one person was sent towards them. Now, he's not been held accountable to that. He's been hiding behind it that he was an MP, so he didn't have to um, give that information to the Standards Committee or to the Parliament, the parliamentary committees. And also, he wasn't a candidate at that moment, so he's in the clear. Now, why shortly after he got the £5 million did he suddenly become a candidate? Played the system quite well there. This is the same man who spends more time in the USA than he spends in the UK, doesn't hold in-person um, meetings with his constituents on security basis, on a basis that says that he feels insecure. But now let's go through this. This is the man who got £5 million. So you would think that his personal security should be quite good then, if he was to hold surgeries at his local council. So why is he not doing that? And that's the contempt he shows towards people that he feels below him. He's not there to go and do surgeries and try and make the local community better. He's there for a power grab. He's there to be the UK's Trump, to make bank out of it and then leave. He's there to further this agenda of racism and hatred and fascist behavior, to just come in, do that, and then leave. He's never had the well-being of people at heart for him. And how can one say that? Well, let's say, for example, let's look at what happened. There was a softball interview with a couple of candidates from different political parties. Reform didn't show up because they knew that the question was going to come around about the £5 million. Same went for, and that was with Laura Koonsberg, who is the most softball of softball interviews he could have asked to have. Then we have the situation where he then ditches out from another interview that was sent through to an interview request that was sent through to him, because they knew that the question of the £5 million was going to come up. Why can't this man stand scrutiny? He gets very thin-skinned when he is scrutinized and he's called out, because a lot of what he does is either full of hypocrisy or he doesn't have any leg to stand on. Just look at his national to the council elections leaflets that they were sending out. All of it was like very vaguely national priorities. Nothing that the council can do, nothing on a local council level can be affected by it. These are also the same people who put on their leaflets that will cut your taxes at a local government election. Now, let's look at this. You put it on a leaflet, and they would say that's a national idea. No, you put it onto a leaflet for a local election. So these are the same people who administratively had some important information left out from a leaflet to make it seem that it was a local person who wrote the letter, saying that she's advising her neighbors not to vote for any other party but to vote reform. But the Election and Standards Commission says that you have to show that this is from a political party. That part on their leaflet was mysteriously not there. And then it was said, oh no, it was a problem with the printing. Yeah. I've been dealing with printing and printers for many, many, many years. And I can tell you few things. One is when you get a box from your local printer that you have commissioned to do something for you, you open up the box, you check if it's all okay, and then you send it out. Same thing with other stuff that we've done as well. You get stuff back from a printer before it is installed, you look at what's there, you look at the people installing it, they confirm it's the right product, the right color schemes, the right images compared to the proofs that you sent through. If it's not correct according to the proofs, you get it reprinted. That is what you do for every consignment that you get from a supplier. To this day, when I get consignments of certain products, I check it and go, yep, that's the stuff I ordered. There we go. It's all fine and dandy, and I throw away. And this is something that keeps on jumping up and coming up and coming up with him. Because the questions are coming about the house in Clacton. He still hasn't answered that question. Who paid for that house? Who's been paying for all of these little trips overseas? Why is he getting money from billionaires to host these lavish dinners and then say he's a man of the people? But then you find the Daily Mail jumping up on, a pair of glasses for Starmer, or stamp duty for Rayner. But Tice was not called to answer for his tax liability. And he was out there saying Rayner should resign. And where's Tice? He's still sitting pretty. Didn't resign, didn't say anything, just kept on going. It's just one rule for them and one rule for us. And that is what is driving people insane. But on the reform side, people are going, yeah, but look at them. There's a lot of whataboutism in politics. It'll always be there. It has always been there. But if you can't see the rank hypocrisy from the Daily Mail, the Sun, the Express, from figures on that side, which are supported by them, Fargage, Tommy, Tice, the Reform lot, the Restore lot, even Babnock, it is hilarious to see the conversation, the talking points they push. Yet they are the ones who are mostly involved and game the system in such a way to make sure that none of us are better off and only them and their mates are. Needed to remind you of the VIP lane. And currently, a couple of frontbenchers for reform were part of the government who was in charge of the VIP lane. These are the same people who stood behind Johnson when he was Prime Minister. And need I remind you all that the fiasco of a mini budget was brought to us by that true blue budget that Fargage was so excited about. The Daily Mail was so excited about. And then what happened? The economy crashed. So how should we trust these people? How can you trust a word they say when Farage is on record saying, never trust a Tory? But he backs his benches with Tories. These are the same people who said Brexit was such a great idea. What has Brexit brought us? Made the UK look like a lapdog for the USA during a conflict in the Middle East that the UK does not want to get involved in, but the choice number 2 is to go towards Europe. However, we have the Farage lot and the Tory lot on Badenoch's side going, oh, we should have joined it, and now they go, oh, we shouldn't have joined it. But they would have jumped in with both legs if they were in charge. But you dare say you need to pivot towards Europe, and they say betrayal of Brexit. Well, betray Brexit, please. Brexit has brought nothing but agony and a downgrade in our economy and living standards. It has not been great for anybody, apart from the ones who are making a lot of money from it, which is not the man in the street. So I would be very happy if Starmer grew a backbone and said that let's betray Brexit. Let's just do a reset. Let's do the customs union and start there. Because people's their minds will change very quickly when they see their living standards increase by joining the customs union. The world will change dramatically in the UK, and the attitude towards the EU will change dramatically. Because as much as the nationalists on this side of the channel and the pond wants to say, well, the English are the English are the ones that stopped everybody from speaking German. There's a lot of people who were actually involved in battling fascism and Nazism in the Second World War. And those same people who were battling that during the Second World War would now stand up and go, can't you see what's happening in your country? Can't you see that these same ideologies and the same people are trying to take away and wrestle away the country from you to bring to fruition this type of rhetoric and government? And that's the problem, is too many people are keeping quiet. And the ones who are speaking up in the US is called Trump deranged syndrome. And that's the problem we have, is as soon as you speak about it, then it's, oh, you soft lefty. No, it's not about that. It's about how long can you tolerate seeing people being led by the nose, and you're going after the most basic, primitive part of humankind, and that's that racist part, that's fear of the others. And you play towards the fear of the others and the fear, and saying it's everybody else's fault. The horizons, the Brexit unicorns are just over it's just there in the horizon. It's almost there. It's within our grasp. It's not. And the longer you believe in this, and the longer you say this is going to work out well, the more damage it does. I just open up my local Facebook group, and the amount of racism that gets pushed in there, things that would have never been said 5 years ago, is now being blatantly posted in groups. Because these people are being emboldened. And why? Because normal people are allowing it to happen. You should call out this nonsense. You should call out when somebody is being racist. But they're getting this because the leaders are not being called out by the news organizations. They would rather go after a pair of glasses and some tickets. But they don't go after the guy who got 5 million quid. They don't go after the guy who evaded taxes. They don't go after the guy who sits there and then asks questions, which then incites riots, and people go to jail for tweeting stuff, as everybody wanted to say. And he was just asking questions. That's where we sit. And we have to, at some point, realize that if just rational people, if they're not going to start speaking up louder, we are going to go towards what you see happening in the USA. More voter suppression and fascist ideas. And we're going to lose the NHS. And before you say anything that Nigel has not said, he's on record, on tape, saying that the UK should move away from an NHS system and more towards an insurance-based system like the USA. He's on camera. And that is not a view he's held for a little short while. That's a view he's held for a long time. He's playing you, people. He's playing you. All of these people on the right are playing you. And you're being led astray. James O'Brien likes to say something along the line of contempt for the con man, but I can't even remember. I can't fully quote what he said. But that you feel for those who are conned. That time has passed. You had your 5 years post-Brexit. That time in 2021 passed. We're now in FAFO, and we're in the finding out part. Because that's where we are. Is you can now see the disasters that's happened under these right-wing ideologies. Cast your eyes over to the US, cast your eyes over to Hungary, cast your eyes over to any of these places where you see these little pinchers going in. But question this man on why he's taken all of this money, this double standard, and then you want to say two-tier care. Folks, please. But until later, ciao, ciao.